Welcome to Teaching Truth. From the cradle to the grave. That's been and is the theme for our reflections over these days, weeks and months as together we journey with Moses from the beginning of his life right through to the end of his life. And from the beginning of his life right through to the end of his life, one element that was key in Moses' life was the element of prayer. Moses was a man who prayed. And in our reflections today, we want to think about the enduring prayer life of Moses. Over the last day or so, we've been thinking about his encounter with Pharaoh and his experience of the plagues. And throughout all of that, Moses would have needed to pray to God, to seek God's guidance, to hear God's voice, to ask for God's help. Psalm 90 is an interesting place to find a prayer of Moses. You would think you might find that in Exodus, but Psalm 90 is the prayer that Moses prays. Let's read that together from God's Word, Psalm 90. And as we read it and as you listen to it, this is a prayer that Moses is praying born out of the experiences that so far he has gone through. He says this: Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn men back to dust, saying, return to dust, O sons of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. You sweep men away in the sleep of death. They are like the new grass of the morning. Though in the morning it springs up new, by evening it is dry and withered. We are consumed by your anger and terrified by your indignation. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. All our days pass away under your wrath. We finish our years with a moan. The length of our days is 70 years or 80, if we have the strength. Yet their span is but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. Who knows the power of your anger? For your wrath is as great as the fear that is due to you. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Relent, O Lord, how long will it be? Have compassion on your servants. Satisfy us in the morning with your unfailing love, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Make us glad for as many days as you have afflicted us. For as many years as we have seen trouble, may your deeds be shown to your servants, your splendour to their children. May the fear of the Lord our God rest upon us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Moses was a man who throughout his life prayed to God. Moses knew how important prayer was as he wandered in the desert for 40 years, seeking guidance, seeking purpose. As he prayed to God to send someone else, to pray for strength, to pray for guidance as he went into the court of Pharaoh. Moses was a man of prayer. And perhaps the most reliable indicator of the character of a Christian, a follower of Jesus, is his or her prayer life. And that's a challenge to me before I challenge anybody else. We just need to look at Jesus himself to see the perfect example of a man of prayer. And when you pause and think about it, Moses was a great Old Testament character. And yet Moses recognized and realized the importance of prayer. Moses knew that he needed the mercy of God and that God alone could guide the people, the Israelites. Moses also longs to see God at work and to see his beauty. And his final request is that God would establish the work that he has given Moses and others to do. Moses was a man dedicated to prayer. Walter Boyd, writing on the prayers of Moses, comments, and I think this is written very well. One of the most striking features of his prayers is the beautiful balance between his deep reverence for God and his intimate familiarity with God. Moses used simple yet expressive language to commune with God, yet he never became unduly familiar in how he addressed God. Do we have that commitment as well? Do we have that deep reverence for God? Do we have that simple yet expressive language when we come in prayer to God? And yet, are we careful to never become unduly familiar in how we address God? Moses was a man of prayer, a man of enduring prayer. May we be like Moses. Moses was used by God to do many things. He was going to lead the people through the Red Sea. He was going to be the receiver and the person who would bring the Ten Commandments to the people. Moses was going to be a great leader, and yet Moses recognized the importance of prayer. And so may we be Moses-like and recognize the importance of enduring prayer, just as Moses in his life recognized the importance of enduring prayer.